Hello and welcome to Odds on La Liga Matchday 8. We had a great weekend, or an important one, the last one since Real Madrid got thrashed in the derby. So now we have a new leader, Barcelona, and this weekend is another test for Real Madrid, Alvaro. They are playing at home against Villarreal. Some doubts about Los Blancos after that defeat in the derby, despite the win in Kazakhstan, in Almaty.
Yeah, nothing worked for Real Madrid, and incredibly against Atlético de Madrid, they were even 2-1 up at some point in the game, but that result wasn't reflective of what we had seen in the game. Then Atlético managed to score 4 goals, they won deservedly, and they have turned the situation around completely because they also inflicted a heavy defeat, Atlético, to Frankfurt, and they have scored 10 goals in a week. This is what happens in football. Anyway, Barcelona is the new leader. They have an opportunity to consolidate the leadership if they beat Sevilla before the international break. Sevilla at home has been appalling, we know about that, but I guess that Sevilla will have an extra motivation to play against Barcelona this time. Maybe it's not an easy as it sounds, but yes, probably the news of the week is that Atletico is back, and in a very strange way, scoring 10 goals in 4 days only.
Indeed, and they were almost out of everything when they were losing 1-2 with Rayo Vallecano, but they ended up winning that game as actually 13 goals scored in only 1 week, 3 against Rayo and 5 against Real Madrid, another 5 against Frankfurt. So now, guys, let's analyze this match day before the international break. Remember to leave your comments, press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. We have a game on Friday. Is Osasuna Getafe. Better start of the season for Getafe, although they are coming from 2 draws at home against direct rivals Levante and Alavés. Osasuna lost to Betis, but where they are strong is at home. Álvaro, they beat Rayo or Valencia already at the Sadar.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is the kind of game in which it's not going to be very entertaining, rather defensive. I can imagine Getafe just playing with the front foot as they do normally, but probably finding in Osasuna a team that mirrors them a little bit. 2 teams with, aerial power, 2 teams that they can actually keep the result in low scoring terms, and 2 teams that don't score a big deal of goals. Getafe's run is not the best right now. We know about that. They are dropping in the table a little bit. But, on the other hand, I wouldn't be too negative about him. For this game, considering that this is the kind of game in which both opponents are very similar, I think that Osasuna maybe slightly, but just slightly favorite just because they are playing at home, right? That's why I'm going to challenge those odds, and I'm going to go for a first half draw. I like this one. It pays 191, almost 2, and I think that the game is going to be decided like that. Like, in little details, maybe in the second half, not necessarily with both teams being too expansive. So a first half draw is something that I like. And going forward to the game itself, an excellent handicap plus 0.25 for Getafe with plenty of opportunities on alleyways for them. I mean, if they draw, you can have a win. If they win, you win. That pays 160. If they draw, you will get 0.80. I mean, I think that that's all right.
It's all right, indeed. The next game on Saturday, important for the relegation battle as well. Oviedo, Levante. Oviedo got the 3 points in Mestalla. Big surprise. They were 1-0 down, and they ended up winning 2-1. A game played on Tuesday. It was postponed due to bad weather from Monday to Tuesday. And Levante, as we mentioned, got a point against Getafe. Both are out of the relegation zone, but Álvaro, these are 2 candidates to go to Segunda División, so this is an important game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is the kind of game in which both sides are going to look at each other and say, look, we are here in the top flight. Last season we played in the second division, and the story has changed completely. Oviedo got probably the most surprising win, apart from Atletico's win against Real Madrid. Oviedo got the most surprising win of the weekend. At the end of the day, they hadn't gone away yet. They managed to come back at Mestalla, not necessarily an easy thing. And when 𝗀𝗏𝗏 scored the first goal for Valencia in the 4th minute, I kind of switched off and I said, all right, this game is going to probably be just all Valencia and they're going to win this game easily. And then Oviedo changed the situation around completely, showing that they got the resilience, the usual thing, and they still have a player like Salomón Rondón who is dangerous when he's on the pitch. Salomón Rondón scoring 1 goal against Oviedo, the other one by 𝗵𝗏𝗏. But the best thing about Oviedo is that even when they concede a lot of chances and when they lose, at least they have some moments of bravery to go forward. And I think that against Levante, they can do something like that too. Levante, we know what they are doing, we know who they are, and how difficult they find it as well to win games. Levante is down there, 15th on the table, with 5 points as well, the same as Mallorca, Real Sociedad, Celta, Rayo. It's all very leveled. Oviedo has 1 more point than Levante, and I think that Oviedo is in a better dynamic. So I'm going to go for that. Oviedo has gotten 6 points out of the last 15, Levante only 5 of the last 15, so the dynamic is slightly better for Oviedo, and I'm going to back them with a draw no bet. A draw no bet for Oviedo pays 180.
And also, who knows if for the relegation battle, Girona-Valencia. I say who knows, because of Valencia, this game is important. They have 8 points, but they are with the red light flickering. Alvaro, after losing this game against Oviedo, and Girona has been the poorest side in La Liga, 3 points, still winless. The only team together with Celta without a win, although it looks like they are improving after drawing with Athletic and Espanyol.
You would say so. I mean, slightly. At San Mamés, they did a very good first half. And then against Espanyol, look, it's insane. It's a football game in which there were about 19 shots and there were no goals. And this is a little bit the story of Girona too. I mean, obviously the team has frailties. Defensively, it's not very good. And also the personnel is not stepping up. That's something that we shouldn't forget about Girona and by extension for some other teams. I think that right now, aside from the strikers, there are not many dominant strikers in La Liga, and Girona and Valencia right now don't have those players. Maybe Girona did have it with 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏, but 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 is very, very veteran now, and is not that man. So that's why Girona's games normally are low scoring, because they produce chances, but then they can't score. Valencia, I think they are going to recover from what it happened at Oviedo, because they've got a good manager, and they have been able to win a few games in a very convincing fashion, like they did against Athletic de Bilbao. They did that against Getafe as well, beating them 3-0. So I'm going to back Valencia with an Asian handicap plus 0.25, taking into account that Valencia normally is stronger at home. But I've seen Girona lately, they produce a lot, but they don't seem to win. So I'm going to back Valencia with an Asian handicap plus 0.25, that pays 180.
Valencia need to improve when they are playing away from Mestalla. Next one is Athletic Mallorca, also 2 teams that need to improve. Athletic in really, really bad form, 10 points, but lost to Villarreal, drew with Girona, winless in the last 4 La Liga games, only scoring 1 goal. And they have the game in Dortmund in the Champions League, for sure is going to drag them some energy in this atmosphere. Mallorca arrived to Bilbao, Alvaro, after getting the first win of the season against Alavés. Arrasate was in danger. Well, so far he saved his job. I don't know if he was going to be sacked too early, but still.
Obviously, there were some red flags and his problems with a few personalities from the dressing room probably didn't help. But getting a win, obviously, it's a little bit of a breather for Arrasate, for Mallorca as well. I think that Mallorca, like many sides in La Liga, they rely on the rockiness and just profiting as much as they can. The shortcomings up front that they get. Mallorca has scored only 6 goals in 7 games, but it's the story of La Liga for many sides. I repeat, this is a constant between, you check the likes of Oviedo, Osasuna, Mallorca, Girona, they score very few goals. So then they have to make a massive effort just to win games or to get points. But that thing that last season didn't happen to Athletic de Bilbao is happening to them as well this season. Athletic Club Bilbao is not a high scoring side, and they have suffered lately. They haven't won a football game since August when they went to the international break. Just at some point they were topping the table with Real Madrid, and they got 10 points of the first 12 in La Liga, which is brilliant. And basically they are living off that yet. But the run is not good, and they are playing against Dortmund before we record this show. I think that game against Dortmund is going to change things. I do believe that it's going to be a turning point, because if they lose, then they cannot lose against Mallorca. They cannot lose against Mallorca, because then the situation will start to be very concerning. And if they beat Dortmund, which I don't think, then the team is going to have like a booster of confidence like never before, because that will be probably the biggest Athletic de Bilbao result in Champions League football history. So I think that Athletic is going to win this game. Nico Williams is not going to be ready for Dortmund. I doubt he's going to be ready for Mallorca. Athletic has been missing him a lot, but I think that Athletic is going to win this game. For you to find the value, you have to go to the Asian handicap minus 0.75, or otherwise Athletic to win the second half. I think the game can start slowly because Athletic is playing on Wednesday in Europe, but then win it in the second half. Athletic Club to win the second half, 191.
I have to say, Alvaro, that the odds to back Dortmund were very good in that game against Athletic, but who knows what is going to happen. And now in La Liga, they have a good chance to bounce back and to get a win. And for Saturday evening, we have a great game at the Bernabeu. Real Madrid, Villarreal, only 2 points between these two teams. Real Madrid bounce back against Khairat Almaty, of course, is no opposition. The Kazakhstan team, after the defeat in the derby, ugly defeat with a lot of mistakes, I would say, for Xabi Alonso and also for some players like Heisen. He also played in Kazakhstan from Carreras on the bench. And perhaps Fran Garcia could start also here because he did a good job in Kazakhstan, but also some doubts about Valverde, about Bellingham, Alvaro, some certainties. I'm talking about 𝗵𝗵, the best player of the world, no doubt about it, in my opinion. But Villarreal could be dangerous. They are doing a great season. The only defeat came in Madrid, actually, but they did a good job at the Metropolitano.
Well, I think Villarreal are very composed. And also, don't forget the fact that they are the team that has conceded less goals in La Liga altogether with Barcelona. And their goal difference is the same one as Real Madrid. So Villarreal obviously comes shorter when it comes to raw talent than Real Madrid, but they've got a very good system. They set up very well. They are quite physical as well, so they've got a perfect team to counter-attack. And also they have players that don't play a lot, like for example Parejo, who can come in the game and slow it down if needed. So Marcelino has many options at his disposal, many profiles as well, that will make Villarreal definitely one of the candidates to finish fourth in La Liga. I have no doubt about that. And also they've got a big squad. So this game is going to be quite interesting because Real Madrid, so far, when they have played against a team of their caliber, like Atlético de Madrid or Paris with Xabi Alonso in June or early July, they have lost badly. Villarreal is nowhere near that quality. I think Madrid is the favorite, right? But Real Madrid is nowhere near perfection right now. I think that the first half against in Almaty was very bad. And then Real Madrid made amendments, ended up winning the game inevitably. But you need to bring more players on board. I think that it didn't look good that Bellingham went straight to the lineup against Atlético de Madrid. What is the message you are sending to the team as well if you remove in the second half Arda Güler, a player who has a great connection with 𝗵𝗵, by the way. One of the reasons why 𝗵𝗵 has scored those many goals in La Liga, a hat-trick, for example, against Almaty, but many more, even a goal at the Metropolitano from Mbappé was thanks to Arda Güler and his passing. If you have a player like Güler who has a good understanding with Kylian Mbappé, if you have a synergy there, an association, a society, why do you remove Mbappé from that? Güler from that game against Atletico? I just don't get it. All that said, look, I think Real Madrid is gonna keep on winning games in La Liga. I think so. For this game, I'm gonna go for both teams to score, as I like it. I think that the money is good enough. And then Real Madrid, if they win, I think that they should win it, and probably with an Asian handicap -1, you wouldn't be taking a massive risk. It pays 171. Otherwise, combine both teams to score with Mbappé to score. This is my favorite thing, and I think that you will find happiness there.
Well, Villarreal didn't score at the Metropolitano. They had chances. They didn't score also at the Tottenham ground. Let's see if in another big stadium they are able to score. But I completely agree with you on Bellingham. He looks depleted still at this moment.
Still early.
Still early, indeed. I think it's better to wait until after the international break. Indeed, positives also to see 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀, by the way, scoring in Kazakhstan. And now let's go to the relegation battle, or who knows, maybe Europe, Alavés, Elche, maybe Europe, because Elche right now they are in Champions League spots. They are still unbeaten. They beat Celta 2-1 after the draw in Pamplona. Alavés 8 points. Álvaro, usually not really high scoring games for Alavés, but I'm surprised to see them favorites. I kind of like the double chance for Elche here.
Well, the double chance for Elche is nice, and obviously there is a higher value in the draw, which I think that Elche could get. 314. Normally draws go from 290 to 350, roughly. This one is pretty good. I mean, normally the draws between two sides of similar level are within those realms. But I'm gonna go for the draw here. I think that Elche has been doing a very good job, and Elche does something that reminds me of what I think that not many teams in La Liga do. They play with two natural center forwards, two natural strikers. So when you play with Mir and Silva, any long ball that you throw normally becomes a chance or half a chance, or they get a free kick or something like that. They've got a lot of power up front. And I know that these strikers are nowhere near super quality. But at this level, Silva and Rafa Mir, they have proven that they are very good. Mir playing for 𝗲𝗏𝗀𝗀, Silva playing in Germany. So, that makes a difference for a team like Elche, because they have scored 10 goals from the newly promoted sides are the ones that are having the best goal difference and also the best scoring record. And partially is for that, because Sarabia has understood that maybe doubling up front is the best thing to double up your goal tally. I know that it sounds like quite childish to say this, but to a certain degree, this is true. And when it comes to Alavés, we know that Alavés is going to be staying competitive in games like this, because they do. And in fact, they are 11th on the table with a goal difference of -1. That proves that they are resilient, but they like the draw. 314, otherwise the draw no bet, the double chance for Elche, as you mentioned, is a good one too.
Then one of the games of the weekend, Sevilla, Barcelona. Barcelona, the leader, top of the table after beating Real Sociedad. It wasn't a great game also for Barcelona. The positives, Lamine Yamal is back, but no Fermín, no Gavi, Rafinha, still some absentees. Also, Joan Garcia got injured, and they are playing, as we know, PSG. In midweek, it's never easy to go to the Sánchez-Pizjuán, although you mentioned how Sevilla have been poor, playing at home, way better away. But perhaps, Álvaro, now that they can sit back and defend, maybe they could be more competitive at home, because they've played against a small opposition apart from Villarreal when they played in the Sánchez-Pizjuán.
Yeah, only thing is that I don't know if Sevilla has the players and the philosophy to play like that under Almeida, just to sit back. The counter-attack can be good, don't get me wrong, because they got a lot of speed up front. And then Accord, it's little by little stepping up as probably the striker they should have. Vargas is having a good season. I always mention him. I think that signing the Swiss was one of the few clever signings that Sevilla has done over the last couple of years. But for this game, I consider Barcelona favorite. Barcelona needs an international break, that's for sure, because there are a few players who are out. I doubt they will be back after the international break, like Fermin and especially Joan Garcia, who is going to be out for an extra month. But still, Barcelona needs a little bit of a breaker because they have had many players in the sidelines. Not for big injuries, apart from 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗀 ones, but small injuries here and there that stop, for example, 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗀 Flick from making huge rotations. And in fact, he tried to rotate against Real Sociedad the other day, fielding 𝗵𝗍𝗍 and 𝗏, or 𝗏 is called, the Spanish number 10, and that didn't work. Almost Hansi Flick made a mistake with the rotations. So Barcelona cannot rotate a lot right now because some players who are naturally the player 12, 13, 14, 15 of the squad, I'm talking about Fermin, I'm talking about Ferran Torres, I'm talking about many more, they are either injured or already starting because Barcelona has many players in the sidelines. Let's see what happens against Paris. This may affect a little bit Barcelona ahead of this game, but I think that they are favorites anyway. Lamine Yamal was back the other day. Some Edu may argue that Lamine Yamal is the best player in the world instead of Mbappé, or Mbappé the best scorer. No time for that, but anyway. Ace and handicap -1 for Barcelona, my favorite, 175. Barcelona to win the second half pays a lot of money, 185. And Barcelona to win the second half, it's been happening lately. We remember, for example, when they play against Oviedo away, this is exactly what they did. They started not in the best possible way, and then they got their win.
Indeed, also against Real Sociedad, they started conceding goals. A fair debate, Alvaro, but how to forget 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗍, no? The best player, according to FIFA Ballon d'Or. Well, last year, 4-1 at the Sánchez Pizjuán, 5-1 in Barcelona. So Sevilla conceded 9. Next one, also Barcelona-Sevilla clash, but in this case, Espanyol. Betis, with Betis playing in Europe, remember in Bulgaria against 𝗀𝗲𝗏𝗏, and away 3 draws in La Liga, beat Osasuna at home in the last game. The odds are basically the same, Álvaro, for all the outcomes, because Espanyol, they are doing a great season. They have the same points as Betis, it's true, 3 winless games, but they still adding points to their leaderboard, drawing with Girona or Valencia. This one is a tough one to call, in my opinion.
I'm going to go for both teams to score, though. Espanyol has been very good at home. They got 10 points out of the 12 they have already collected in total. 10 points of those have been collected at home. Then Espanyol is scoring a decent amount of games. 10 in 7 games for a team like Espanyol is more than good. They don't defend particularly great, and Betis has scored 11. Both sides are in different dynamics. Espanyol has gotten, 2 points out of the last 9, and Betis 7 points out of the last 9. And Betis is getting players recovered little by little, which is good because they need more bodies now that they are going to juggle between Europe and local or domestic football. But for this game, considering that between both sides they have scored 21 goals in 14 games, obviously because they have played 7 each, I think Betis can score away, and I definitely believe that Espanyol can score away as well. So I'm going to go for that one. Both teams to score in this game, which pays 171.
Next one is Real Sociedad, Rayo Vallecano. Both are in the bottom part of the standings. Real Sociedad with both with 5 points. Real Sociedad lost to Barça, but they won the last home game against Mallorca. Still pressure on the manager, on Sergio Francisco, and Rayo. I keep saying that, Álvaro, they have less points than what they deserve. They lost to Sevilla and Atlético Madrid, but I think they deserve points in those 2 games. Only 1 win in the first match day, and now they are also playing European football.
Yeah, and we learned last week that 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 doesn't like a certain beer from Sevilla. I don't know if you saw.
Cruzcampo,
I
don't like it either.
It was a great moment, really. It would be great for Sevilla to have 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, by the way. But what I can tell you here is that Rayo Vallecano, yes, they got probably less points than they deserve, but at some point that must be demoralizing as well, right? They need to record a couple of points, 3, 4, 5 points within the next 3 games, because otherwise the situation is going to get difficult. And on top of that, they are playing in Europe, and Rayo Vallecano is not very used to combining two competitions. With Real Sociedad, let me tell you something. I think that at Barcelona and in Montjuic, they played quite well, and I believe that that game is going to be somehow, despite the defeat, a little bit of a booster of confidence, because 𝗏𝐭'𝐻 in the second half hit the crossbar, because Real Sociedad stayed put, and also because little by little new players are coming out and helping as well. And I think that if you manage to field a midfielder line with midfield line with the likes of Soler, I would say that Turrientes, Brais Méndez, and up front 𝗏𝐻, Oyarzabal and Barrenechea start finding their best gear, Real Sociedad is not going to be that terrible, and they are not playing in Europe. This is a massive difference for Real Sociedad this season. I know that their manager is still to prove himself, but them just having to tackle one game per week only, where Rayo is going to play at least 6 more games than Real Sociedad this season, make a massive difference. And I think that difference is going to manifest itself here. I'm going to back Real Sociedad with an ace and handicap minus 0.25, 179. If they lose, you suffer half a lose. If they win, you win your stake.
And Ramiro was also brilliant in Montjuic. And the last game before we go to another international break is Celta de Vigo, Atlético de Madrid. Here, Alvaro, when I checked La Liga page in Oddspedia, you go down, you scroll down to stats, betting stats, and you have Atlético Madrid and Celta are the best teams in both teams to score. In La Liga, 6 out of 7. Both teams to score is 1.8. And, well, Celta season is still to be started. No wins is getting dangerous, because last time they played in Europe, they were, once when they played in Europe was in the Champions League, not last time. They went down to Segunda División, and be careful with them. And for Atlético Madrid is the opposite. Great week, as we said at the beginning, when they were losing 1-2 against Rayo Vallecano and struggling. I'm sure no one would expect it to be in the situation we are today, that they are back on track in this season with Julián Álvarez absolutely on fire.
Absolutely, and the thing is that they've got many players on fire, and they got 2 results against good teams that are automatically results that put you in a totally different dimension. Atlético de Madrid now have to be favourite for this game against Celta, because Celta, let's not forget it, Celta hasn't won a single game in La Liga so far, and this is their worst ever run in La Liga for the last 43 years, okay? The last time they got a run like this, they got relegated. This is Celta's situation right now. They were great last season, but they are struggling right now. And Atlético de Madrid are right now pointing up. They are bringing a lot of players to the mix as well, because let's not forget that Baena, for example, wasn't a big participant in the win against Frankfurt, and he's back as well, and Baena is very important. And so many players are making a difference. Even Nico González, a player that was like, yeah, he's good, but let's see how he does. Raspadori scored the goal. Antoine Griezmann is back, scoring his 200th goal for Atlético de Madrid against Frankfurt, by the way. So, there are so many players enjoying a good moment, and on top of that, Julián Álvarez, who is probably the best footballer of Atlético de Madrid, that right now, why shouldn't they trust Atlético? They have turned the situation around. They have thrown the chessboard from the window, and a new game is starting now. And I don't think that Atlético is gonna, because they can't, is gonna not take profit of, or take advantage of this great dynamic. So I'm gonna back them, because even if they played in Europe on Tuesday, they have a really big squad, and if they rotate, they can still do it. But of course, they really have to believe, and they really have to go for it. If they play like against Frankfurt, there are very few sides that can stop Atlético de Madrid. Them to win here pays 183. I'm staying with that.
Okay, same as both teams to score, but by the way, the head-to-head in the last 4 games between these two teams, Atlético won 2-0. In the last 5, actually, between these two teams, no, last time was a draw at the Metropolitano, and then 3-4 consecutive wins 2-0 to Atlético de Madrid. Anyway, the head-to-head is very positive for Atlético. In the last 8 years, only 1 win. for Celta, and they are playing on Thursday, European football, so they are going to be even more tired than the rival. Alvaro, we go into another international break. For Spain, it's not that bad since we tend to enjoy our national team. Before that, remind me to tell you that we have opened our tipster competitions. It's October, new month, so it's another chance for you to win some cash money. And of course, you can also participate in rivals and create your own tipster competition. Alvaro, safe bet?
My safe bet is Barcelona to win, 150.
ACCA?
I'm going to make it big. Asian handicap -1 for Barcelona. Asian handicap -0.25 for Real Sociedad. Atlético to win. Altogether, 573.
It is big indeed. Thank you, Alvaro. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Bye.